The night he shouldn't have been free. 2008 was a hell of a year. It started off all right, but then Chelsea lost their first ever Champions League final. And not long after that, September's financial crisis had people, myself included, terrified about what the future held. But none of that compared to what happened next. That year, a close personal friend of mine, let's call her Jane, confessed that her husband of 3 years had been abusing her. We'd suspected something was wrong for a while. After the honeymoon phase of her marriage, Jane changed. The cheerfulness drained out of her. She was always busy, always distracted, and never explained why. It was like something was sucking the life out of her. Turns out, something was. Her husband, Nick. He never hit her hard enough to leave bruises, but he did hit her. He intimidated her, choked her, once locked her in their attic for an entire day after an argument about his drinking. And he told her, very clearly, that if she ever told anyone what he'd done, he would kill her. No threats, no bluffing, just certainty. When Jane finally told me, I was stunned. My first thought was, what the hell happened to Nick? Because when I'd met him, he seemed like a gentleman, no warning signs, nothing. Jane said everything changed after his father died. She suspected Nick's dad had abused his mother when Nick was a child. After the death, Nick spiraled into depression. And when he came out of it, he was never the same. It took months of fear, lawyers, and police reports. But by September, Jane managed to record video evidence of Nick's abuse. The police arrested him immediately. His trial was set for late November. With the footage against him, Nick pleaded guilty, hoping for leniency. Jane was terrified he'd get a suspended sentence. She knew a restraining order wouldn't protect her. But then came the best news possible. Nick was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Jane was relieved, for a few days. But freedom didn't erase the pain. She told us she felt like she'd wasted years of her life, and it was obvious she needed something good. So I sent out a group text. Let's throw her a Christmas party. Everyone agreed instantly. The party. We set the date, Saturday the 13th. From December 1st onward, I planned non-stop. Decorations, food, wine, spirits, an absolutely killer playlist. My house was decked out in wreaths, garlands, everything. There was only one rule. No mention of Nick. This was Jane's chance to breathe. To forget, if only for a few hours. That night, the house filled with laughter. Champagne turned into spiced rum. Bing Crosby gave way to Mariah Carey. The neighbors were out, the music was loud, and for the first time in years, Jane laughed. Really laughed. Eventually, she raised a glass and toasted, not to new beginnings, but to that bastard behind bars. And we drank. We danced. We screamed Gloria Gaynor's I Will Survive. Spirits were sky high. At one point, we got drunk enough to put a full face of makeup on a friend's boyfriend. It was so funny, I actually peed myself a little. I wish I were joking. Because right after that, everything changed. The knock at the door. Jane went to the bathroom. She had to pass a window overlooking the driveway. A few minutes later, she burst back into the room, pale, shaking. He's outside, she said. He's right there. We thought she was panicking. PTSD. Alcohol. He's in prison, we told her. But she dragged us to the window. He was there, she insisted. Steph volunteered to check outside. Jane begged her not to. Steph opened the door anyway. And standing there was Nick. She screamed, tried to slam the door shut. Nick shoved his foot in and forced his way inside. That's when all hell broke loose. The fight. Nick stormed up the stairs screaming for Jane. Ryan, Steph's boyfriend, grabbed a cricket bat. Nick charged him. Ryan swung. The sound of wood hitting skull is something I will never forget. Nick stumbled back, then came again. Another swing, another hit. Nick fell down the stairs, bleeding, but still conscious. Someone shouted, "The police are on the way." That snapped him out of it. Nick fled. Minutes later, police arrived. Statements were taken. Jane was hysterical, but the biggest question remained, how was Nick free? The truth. A week later, we found out it was a clerical error. Nick had been mistakenly marked for permanent unsupervised release. No one questioned it. Not one person. He was rearrested days later and returned to prison. Eventually released early, but under strict conditions. He never contacted Jane again. Thank God. Story 2. The Santa with a Gun. My grandmother grew up in rural Arkansas, and in 1961, she saved an entire group of children. 2 bank robbers, who had murdered 5 people, including a child, were hiding out disguised as Santa Claus and an elf at a Christmas grotto. She recognized Santa's mismatched eyes from a radio description, returned with a tray of food and a loaded gun. She held them at gunpoint until police arrived. She saved lives, and she became a legend. Story 3. The Santa I Saw. When I was 4 years old, I saw Santa. Years later, my dad told me the truth. It wasn't Santa. It was a murderer, covered in blood, escaping down our fire escape after stabbing a man 112 times. My parents let me believe the lie, to protect me. Story 4. The Gift. In Marseille, my mother's neighbors tried to comfort a grieving woman. They sang. They brought food. They gave gifts. One gift contained a human skull. A message inside read, "A present from your son." That was the day my mother decided to leave France. Sometimes, the magic of Christmas exists to protect us from the darkness that lives right beside it.